We are the one, the light in the dark. One heart, one world, one spark. We are the one, together we rise. One dream, one voice, one sky. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Women Empowered Across the World. And this is our podcast. And we're so happy to have you here today. We have an amazing guest today, Melissa Kieffer, and we're going to hear all about her story. I know it's going to inspire us. And first, I want to have every one of the podcast hosts introduce themselves really quickly, and then we'll move on to an inspiring story. Okay, so Wumi, you want to say who you are, where you're from, and just a tiny bit about you. Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wumi Peters, and I am from Nigeria. I am one of the hosts for Women Empowered Across the World. I work in SQI College of ICT, a tech school that empower women, empower young ones, empower everyone in Africa to do great things with technology. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Maria.
Hello, I'm Maria and I'm from the UK. I'm a coach on Carol's program, YEA, and delighted to be here. Very involved in water in Africa, but that's another story for another day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. And Byron.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Melissa. My name is Bailan Mahino. I am the founder of Global Dream Makers and the creator of a life framework called the Dream Maker Matrix. My purpose here in the world is to help people identify, clarify, and create their dreams so we can have peace.
And Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jackie Zaccoli, and I am working globally to be able to bring people together to serve the underserved population, to help them to become sustainable, self-sustainable in the areas of literacy and wellness and environment and employment.
Wonderful. And my name's Carol Witt, and I am the founder and director of YEA Global. We are now in 55 countries, guys, 38 countries in Africa. And we are thrilled to have our guest today. So come join us, Melissa.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be with such amazing women and with your audience today. I'm really lit up. I am also about empowering women in a big way. And so a little bit about me. My name is Melissa Kieffer. I am a money mindset coach, a financial consultant, and a motivational speaker. And I just want to tell you a little bit about my story and how I got to where I am today. Um, Really, it just kind of starts recently in 2018. Actually, in 2015, my dad had been diagnosed with cancer, and we lost him. He passed away. He had built this big, beautiful home in North Carolina for him and my mom to retire to. It was close to where I was living in North Carolina at the time, and my sister was also in North Carolina. So we kind of lived in three different cities, but we were pretty close to each other. And the week that we buried my dad, my mom got diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer to the bone. And so, it was just kind of this double whammy of just, round two, we're going to go through this again because it had been a grueling 2 years with my dad. And, now we've got this long, you know, um, illness that's going to be occurring for my mom. And so anyway, just kind of life is normal. I was an IT consultant at the time. I was traveling to my clients across the United States, Chicago, Seattle, Raleigh, North Carolina, you know, um, and my mom got to a point a couple years later, I guess in 2018, where she just was having a hard time getting to her doctor's appointments, and she was having a hard time maintaining this big, beautiful home that my dad built for her, and him. And so we decided we were going to move to Texas because my sister and her family had been stationed at an army base out there. So, I pack us both up, both houses, get them both sold, get us on the road, heading to Texas, and then somewhere outside of Memphis, Tennessee. I'm looking in my rearview mirror at my mom who was following me in her car, and I see her hit a concrete barrier at 75 miles an hour. And my heart stopped. And I didn't know what to do. And I finally see that she gets control of the car, and I signal to get her across, to the shoulder, to the side of the road. And we get pulled over, and I check her out just to make sure she's okay. I check out the car to make sure it's drivable. Like, just, fear running all of this, right? And she seems to be okay. She seems to be a little shaken up, not a scratch on her. The car didn't have a ding, nothing. It was a miracle, a real life miracle happening in front of me. So we decide to get her car parked at the airport in Memphis and take my car and get us to Texas. And so I get us to Texas, and things are okay. And we get into our new home, and, we get settled in, but something's off, something's just really off with her. And, one day I take her to minor emergency clinic because she's not feeling well. And she starts walking into traffic, just completely walking right into the middle of the road with traffic coming. And so I grab her, I bring her back, and, 4 months and 4 brain scans later, they determined that she must have had a stroke while she was driving that vehicle during that incident. And it impacted the part of her brain that makes decisions, the part of her brain that stores her short-term memories, so that executive functioning part of her brain, which meant that, she couldn't drive, she couldn't manage her money, she had a really hard time, retrieving memories. She was kind of a little more childlike in things, and we were repeating conversations over and over and over again because, just the memory was not there. And so, I did what I could. We got a part-time caregiver that came in and took care of her. And then I came home in the evening, or I was with her in the evening, and then COVID hit. And so when COVID hit, a lot of the caregivers got out of the field. They just didn't want to be around, the risk of getting sick themselves and having to wear all that garb, and, and it was heartbreaking to see so many people so ill, and so many losses that we got fired as a client. So, we no longer had a caregiver. I called every agency I could find. Nobody had available resources. So I had to make a choice, and my choice was to leave my full-time career and take on entrepreneurship to take care of my mom, because she needed to go to appointments, and she needed, help with her money, and she needed help with certain things. I mean, she was still capable. She could still do a little bit for herself, but just the tougher stuff. Um, so that's when I kind of was thrown into entrepreneurship. And back when my dad had passed, I really had decided that I was meant for more. I was meant to help people, and not just help companies, which is what I was doing as a consultant, right? And, caring for someone at their most vulnerable time, being the one that's bathing them and taking care of them and feeding them and giving them their meds. It's just such an amazing experience, human experience. And I knew that I was meant to do more. So, this was an opportunity for me to step away from that career and jump head first into entrepreneurship. And I became a life coach. And so, I was so excited. I was so lit up about coaching people. And then all of a sudden I started to hear the limiting beliefs, the internal chatter, that we all get that says, you can't do this. Who are you to do this, right? You're not worthy of this kind of success in your business. All of those things were popping up, and imposter syndrome, right? So, uh, who am I to coach others when I'm having to coach myself off of, off of these things that are keeping me stuck, keeping me from fulfillment. But over time, I started to recognize that, I had a money mindset issue. That the issue was around what I believed about money that came from my past. My parents used money to manipulate. My parents used money to control situations. There was always fighting. around it. You know, my dad would always say things like money doesn't grow on trees, and my mom would say things like, I haven't even paid for that yet. So it just really credit debt heavy. I actually witnessed her one time being taken on the hood of her car as the repossession man is taking her car for non-payment, and she's on the hood trying to stop him and yelling and screaming like, don't take my car, that's all I've got, right? And so there was a lot of stuff involved in there. And at one point, I even wound up homeless as a child, as a teenager, you know. So what I thought about money was that money was a bad thing, and I shouldn't have it because it's just going to bring conflict and all this other stuff, right? So I started to realize my clients that I was coaching had those challenges too, where they were actually pushing money away in their business. They would do things like, discount their services before even asking someone to purchase, right? They would do things like pick the wrong clients, the clients that were causing them to have all of these headaches and concerns, and just not their ideal clients, the ones that would nitpick everything and be unhappy all the time. And they were settling for that. um, and they were just not thriving in their business. So I started to shift into money mindset coaching. And so that has been my specialty. And what I've created out of that, and what I've created out of that basically is I did create that. I went to the Landmark Forum because I knew my mindset wasn't right and I knew things had to change. So in 2019, I did take this course, this program called the Landmark Forum. And out of that, I got to be free. I got to be free to express myself. I got to clear up and clean up relationships with people in my life that, were keeping me stuck, were keeping me from expressing who I was in the world, and to help other people. And, eventually I wound up in leadership programs, just kind of kicking and screaming, not wanting to really do any of it because it's so scary, like, oh my gosh, I have to face this. I have to confront that. Like, what am I doing here? But I created out of that, I created a program, like a community project where I started to help women entrepreneurs to launch or relaunch their business. So I went out and I enrolled my entire community in helping these women to coach them, to mentor them, to contribute to them in some way, so that we could actually get these ladies successfully launched or relaunched in their business. And it was everything from mindset coaching to financial to legal advice to, their headshots and their websites created, and, other members in the community doing introductions, so that they could meet people that could help them in this journey. And it was just so fulfilling and so rewarding. Um, and during all of this, I really discovered for myself that this is my purpose. My purpose is to help women, specifically women entrepreneurs, to know their worth and to be able to go out and create this life that they love, that is full of abundance, free of constraints, of limiting beliefs and what people are telling us we can and can't do, what we believe about money, what we believe we can't do with money, like we can't manage it, or we can't earn it, or we can't save it. So all of that, it is my true purpose. And I do that in a lot of different ways. I get to participate in financial education. I get to participate in coaching. I get to participate in, giving back in my community. And I'm also on the board of directors for an organization called the Rwandan Village Project, where we get to send kids to school. And it's very near and dear to my heart because, as somebody who was talking to a lot of immigrants coming in from Rwanda into the United States, I was heartbroken to hear that when I would ask the question if their parents were still living, every single one of them said no, they were killed in the genocide. And it just destroyed me. And here's this next generation that is coming up without grandparents, and they're just single family homes, right? And they're struggling. They're not doing as well financially. And they have this heartbreak themselves from that loss of those family members. So I want to give back in whatever way that I can. And, just some of the lessons that I learned that I want to share with people is really we're worthy because we are. I believe that God created each of us, and he created within us the power to create for ourselves and for others. And, we don't have to earn our place on this earth. We really don't. We deserve to be here. Mindset is the number one thing that you can invest in, that you can work on every day. Your mindset is everything. Because, Henry Ford said, whether you say you can or you say you can't, you're right. Right? Absolutely. Because that is determining. And I love when, I heard Carol talking about a declaration, right? What you declare is what you are creating. And, and then the third thing really is to create this environment that supports the life that you want to have for yourself. And that environment includes people. It includes mindsets, your thoughts, your actions, things in your life, right? The communities, the media that you consume, all of that. If you create that environment that is going to support that life that you want, you will get there so much faster than if you are kind of stuck in a certain environment that doesn't foster that.
Wow.
So I know that was a long story. I
Oh,
hope I can
Melissa.
go over.
Oh, it was so worth it. Oh, I'm so thankful that you are a guest today. Thank you so much for sharing, because I know some of that was probably really hard. Um, so we usually ask some questions.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
does anybody have any questions for Melissa? I do have one.
Yes.
And so, Melissa, I love that you found your purpose. And when you speak about it, you're lit up, you're excited about it. Not everybody finds their purpose. And so, what I'd like for you to share is for all of our listeners out there, like, where do you start in trying to find your purpose? Where did you start in looking for your purpose and finding it?
That is a very good question, Carol. I think it starts where you feel the most pain. It starts where you feel the most sorrow, like something's wrong here, like something just doesn't, add up. Um, and you just kind of go from there, right? Is like, how can I solve this problem of this suffering, of this struggle? And, the more that you feel it, the more you are called to be a part of it, I believe.
Beautiful, really beautiful. I had a feeling you would say that. Yeah, because it does. It comes from something where we felt something so strongly. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
absolutely.
All right. Maria has her hand up. She wants to ask you a question.
Hi, thank you so much, Melissa. That was really moving. And I just want to ask you, how on earth did you keep going, in that period of time when your mum had an accident and then the stroke? What was it that kept you going in that time? I've been a carer because I know what it's like.
I am, to be honest, I had a lot of breakdowns. I had a lot of breakdowns. I did not, it was not easy, and I never felt good enough. And I always felt like I was missing something and dropping the ball. And I kept trying to do what I could to extend mom's life and to make it the best life that she could have, and that was my clear focus throughout all of it. And mm, I learned how to manifest and, to create a financial flow, like a flow of money into my business and into my life in a way that it was always there when I absolutely needed it. Um, but I did have to hit rock bottom. At one point, I was $40,000 in credit card debt, and I got sued. And, it got to where I depleted all of my savings. I was having to rely on some of mom's money to kind of get us through the more challenging and difficult parts. But I just kept thinking about, I have to learn some sort of lesson. I have to experience some sort of thing. I have to go there so that I can then help my clients in the future, to be able to get through this difficult time, because I don't want anybody else suffering like this. I don't want anybody else struggling like this. This is not what life is meant to be. So I just kept my focus on that it is just a
Mm.
lesson. there's a blessing in it. Everything has a lesson and or a blessing. And so I
Oh,
just kept focused on that.
it sure
Thank you
does.
so much.
Thank
Yeah.
you for asking that question.
Who,
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank
who
you.
else has a question for her? Does anybody else have a comment or a question that they wanna ask? Yeah, Byron.
Thank you so much, Melissa. It's now I know why I'm supposed to be on this one. We have so much in common. I also took care of my mother for the last 4 years and my father the last few years of his life. And I remember in order to do that, I had to really step away from everything I had built. In the way that you had to make that decision, I have to sell the homes, I have to go and move back home and take care of mom. And I remember being angry that I needed to do that and
Mhm.
having to deal with, giving up what I thought was what I was supposed to do so that I could do what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I see that in what you did. And then again, when you were creating your business, right, you were going in a certain direction with your clients and you realized, wait a minute, I need to pivot. It isn't what I thought it was, it's this other thing. And both times you had to step away from what the direction that you had in your mind and just I guess what's the word, surrender to what was a bigger plan for you. How did you get through that point of having to come to surrender so that
Mhm.
you could open up to what really was possible?
Wow.
Oh, that was a beautiful question. And believe me, I tried to control the heck out of it. I
Yes.
tried to control every single little bit of it. And it got to the point where I woke up one day and I was like, I just got angry with the caregiver. This was before we lost her. You know, I got angry with the caregiver because she wasn't helping me manage my mom's finances. That's not her responsibility to do, right? But no, I think surrender was the hardest thing for me. And I kind of adopted this way of thinking that again, everything in life that happens, it happens for a reason. There is a lesson, there is a blessing in every little thing. Like I can't advance to this next level me until I have this experience, until I go through this, right? It's what I needed. Now, could I need it less painful? Yes, but am I going to learn the lesson? Maybe not. Because I can be very stubborn. I don't know about any of you ladies, but I can be very stubborn and get rooted in something. But the surrender, just having that faith, having that knowledge that I do have a higher power that I believe in. I believe that God's got me. I believe that the universe has got my back, and I believe that I am divinely protected and guided. And I have to stay in that space. Otherwise, I would drive myself crazy just wondering what's going to happen? How is this going to turn out? Am I going to fail?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Anybody else? We have about 3 more minutes. Anybody else have a question for her? Yes, Wumi, go ahead.
Uh, Melissa, thank you so much for sharing your story. Okay, so I have my mom living with me because she's diabetic, and I had to bring her. She was the only one in the other states, and I had to bring her to me. And sometimes it can be draining, right? Mentally, I'm sometimes not focused and all of that. So my question is, it's not really a question, but you said something that's caught my attention. Caring for someone in their most vulnerable time. I just wanted you to expatiate or just add a little to what you just said so that for those people who have their parents, who are caring for their parent by themselves, who are financially supportive of that care, who are going through so much in that time, what do you have to say to them, and also what do you have to encourage them, women who are doing that for their parents, taking up that responsibility? Thank you.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. And, I do think there is just a special place in my heart for people who can do that because it is not for people who, are not strong and powerful people, and caring and giving people. Um, you know, I got to a point where I was putting so much of myself into my mom's care that I neglected myself quite a bit. And I had to start asking for help. Um, and I didn't like to ask for help because I was hyper independent. That was how I grew up. That was how I managed things, and so I had to really start relying on community. I would invite, my friends and her friends to come and spend time with her while I would go shopping, or I would go, get my nails done, or whatever it was, get away, watch a movie, things like that. And and I also had to give up being perfect at everything and being right there all the time to make sure that something doesn't happen. And there was a time when I went away to go get her prescription medication filled, and I asked her to stay where she was sitting, and she got up and she went and fell in the kitchen, and I came back and she was on the floor. And it's the worst thing, right? Because you just panic, like, oh my gosh. And then there's the guilt, and did I do this? And I should have been there, right? And so I had to just let go of that and say, whatever is going to happen is going to happen, and it happens for a reason. And, it's just an experience that we have to go through, and we can't be all things to all people. We have to fill our own cup up before we can help fill others. And so, sometimes we just say, this is good enough. It's not perfect. I'm doing what I'm doing, and it is helping, and it is good, and it's good enough.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, Jackie, do you have a question for her? You're muted. I know you have a question.
Well, all the ones I was going to ask, you guys have asked. So now I have to be real selective. Um, yeah, should have known the same minds in the same gutter. Okay. Anyhow, I respect all that you've gone through, and so many times I have seen that same scenario when a life-changing thing makes you take care of someone else. It happens so often, and it's so difficult to realize. But it's there for a reason, and it is for something you have to go through the trenches to do. And I also see that Numi says that Numi, it's a matter of so many people and cultures around the world that are down to the worst possible lives. So your comments about you just realize you have to go through it, and other than realizing that we are evolving,
Mhm.
which is the hardest to realize, is that we are evolving
Mhm.
and that this too will pass.
Mhm.
Um, can you find, or how might you instill that thought into the people that you're working with now? How is it that you're going to do that?
Mm. There is the light on the other side, right? The light at the end of the tunnel, that this will pass. Um, that this is just a temporary space to be in. Well, for one thing, it's a gift. I mean, a lot of people don't see it as a gift. They see it as a burden,
Nice,
right? It's
nice.
very challenging to see it as a gift, but
Yes,
to be able to spend that time with my parents, because I took care of my dad too, um, you know, was I got to see them in a completely different light. I got to see them when they were in pain and they were facing their mortality, and they were just raw and open and honest, and I got to be there with them during that, which was very, just a huge gift. And I got to actually resolve some things too, where we had disagreed, or was upset about my childhood in different areas, and really got to put myself in their shoes and what they were going through at the time and how this happened and unfolded. And so if you start to look at it as a gift, and you start to incorporate some ways of refueling yourself, and putting together a support structure, network, or things that are going to make your life a little easier, then just enjoying that journey, whether it's even the ups and the downs, because they all have a purpose, and they all bring you back to humanity, which I think sometimes we get so busy in our day-to-day lives that we just lose a little bit of that humanity, that human connection. And to Wumi's point too about, when people are at their most vulnerable, what that means is they are facing their death, and it's scary. And there are things that are unresolved, right? And there are things that they wish they could say. There are things that they wish they could have done, and just being that person that can listen to them and to be with them no matter what is coming up for them is just a huge gift.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Nice answer. Very nice.
Absolutely.
So true.
Absolutely. Oh
Very
my
nice.
goodness.
Thank you.
Whew.
Yep.
Okay. Melissa, thank you so much for being vulnerable, being authentic, and sharing your heart with all of us and with our listeners. I'm so thrilled that you were our guest today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for saying yes to it. I love that. And I am so looking forward to getting to know you more, and that we somehow are going to work with one another. So, we have somebody coming in. Hold on.
Absolutely.
Invite them. And I'll just have Renata introduce herself real quick, and then we're gonna in the podcast. Renata, welcome. Hi, you got in on the very end, but you can at least say hi to Melissa and tell her who you are real quick, and then I'm going to end the podcast.
Hi, Melissa. My name is Renata Anderson. I am the founder of the Reborn from the Forest, and I love to be here in this podcast with this amazing woman, and you are very welcome.
Thank you so much. And you have a beautiful forest behind you. That is
Yeah.
amazing. It's good to meet you.
Melissa, you've just found a whole family here, of people that definitely are going to be in your corner and cheering you on. That's what our community is all about, okay? Is empowering other women to live a life they love, okay?
That's beautiful. I love it. Thanks for having me. Have a wonderful rest of your day, ladies. I look forward to
Absolutely.
connecting.
Put your
Okay.
information in the chat,
Yes,
please.
put your
It's now
information in the
open.
chat. And guys, please, if you love this episode, please share it. Please comment. Please share it out on your LinkedIn's, all your social medias. Please come and be with us again for another episode of Women Empowered Across the World podcast. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
When we stand as one, there's no divide. Peace and